So this is bringing these Kundalini meditations. The idea is that you're supposed to raise the Kundalini serpent. I was shown in multiple readings that the actual process of raising that Kundalini, so the entity that's trying to reach you, or your higher self, can get to the center, because the center is where all the action happens. Why is that? Well, the center of your brain has a small gland in it called the pineal gland, which, as you can see here, it was called pineal because it's shaped like a pine cone. This is the exact geometric center of your brain. It's right here. And this, as we're going to see, is very important in ancient cultures. The Sumerians gave it a description, which you can see here, the little acorns on the top of this staff that he had. Now, if you've seen Stargate SG-1, the first episodes, you remember the Goa'uld, the villains in Stargate? You remember how they had these helmets that went around their head that looked like a snake? That's the helmet. That's the Anunnaki. They were human-like people, but they wore these weird helmets in order to appear like gods to the primitive Sumerians they came to. And this is how they encoded the secret of what they really looked like inside this image right here. It only works when you put a mirror image on it. The Babylonian god Tammuz, and as you can see, he's holding a that tradition, and you're seeing the same type of symbolism coming through. Then you go over into Hinduism, the goddess Shiva, the goddess of destruction, the breaking down of the old to purify the way for the new. What does her head look like? What do these, in some cases, seem to be able to grab hold through the pineal gland? And so they knew about all this. They knew that drunkenness and revelry opened up the pineal. That's why he's got it on the top of his staff. So then there's a quote from the Bible: "The light of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye be single, your whole body shall be full of light." That's Matthew 6:22. Well, that's pretty weird, huh? Guess how the mainstream Bible scholars interpret this passage I told you yesterday, for those who were here. They say, well, you just have to be single-mindedly focused on God the Father as your salvation. That's why it's one eye. You just want to kind of look at him. This is a single eye, and it makes your whole body full of light. Well, the Bible says God is light, so this is what's going on. It's your hyperdimensional gateway. The third eye, yeah. But surely we say, you know, even though maybe a Bible passage could be interpreted a certain way, it might not mean anything, probably doesn't mean anything. Surely the Vatican wouldn't follow something like this. That'd be silly. The third eye, yeah. But surely we say, you know, even though maybe a Bible passage could be interpreted a certain way, it might not mean anything, probably doesn't mean anything. Surely the Vatican wouldn't follow something like this. That'd be silly. There's never any public acknowledgement of it, or do they? Well, check this out. This is the Vatican Square, and this is a gigantic statue of a pine cone. It's the largest statue in the Vatican, anywhere outside except for this little ball over here, which we're going to look at closer in just a second. Notice the peacocks, which have a very kind of Egyptian feeling to them, like the ibis, right? The Egyptian ibis is a very similar type of bird. And what's this all about? What's that look like to you? Aha, that's an open sarcophagus, just like in the King's Chamber or the Great Pyramid. What does the open sarcophagus symbolize in the Great Pyramid? No more death. The transition into spiritual life, okay? So, this all has to do with, I'm going to start walking a little bit. This all has to do with the knowledge of the higher forces, the sacred geometry, all this stuff that your consciousness is interfacing through the chair. That helps you get to a point in yourself where you can see that the chair is a psychic amplifier. That's what it does. This was the highest arc welding ever done, like a big bolt of lightning. And it pinched time-space into space-time. So you get this black hole in the room. And then actually they were having tools disappear. So the tools never came back, and they realized there's something here we can use, and they actually designed it into something that they put on the ship in the hopes that the ship would be able to be invisible, like the tools became invisible. What they didn't realize is that they were going to jump from one place to another, and it had a devastating effect on the crew. It could actually create a wormhole with the chair, with the psychics exercising their consciousness in the chair. They had help from, apparently, ETs from Sirius in designing the chair. The cultish religious aspect, but it's not Christianity. That's why the liberal side is all about being open and being free and not having any of these traditional shackles on you. Because what they ultimately want is a racist society. They're very racist, and they're interested in a new world order. Therefore, whoever the Christian church says is the bad guy is the good guy. Okay, wait a minute. Lucifer is the brightest light, the brightest angel in heaven, right? And he's the one that got tossed out of heaven. Well, maybe he got tossed out of heaven because he was too cool, right? Because everybody else in there was a bunch of corrupt shysters. Well, this is actually what the most powerful people in the world think.
But this too we know. Year after year within this happy grove, our fellowship bends thee for a space. Thy malevolence which would pursue us here has lost its power under these friendly trees. So shall we burn thee once again this night, and in the flames that eat thine effigy, we shall read the sign, Midsummer sets us free.
Ye shall burn me once again. Now but these flames, which hither ye have brought from regions where I reign, ye fools and priests, I spit upon your fire.
Wow. Prince of all mortal wisdom, owl of Bohemia, we beseech thee, grant us thy counsel.
So what they found that was so bizarre was that at December 21st, 2012, they could calculate it down to the day, that's how precise this was, that for some reason all the graphs, all the waves would go into a complete flat line. They no longer moved up and down like before. They went flat for like 7 or 8 seconds. And we're traveling into the future. What happened to you? Every single time that somebody tried to hit 2012, they said the same thing. There was this thing they called the bump. It actually hits you like a bump. You actually feel like you've slammed into something in life. So that is real. Stargate SG-1, all those television shows, of which there's 10 seasons, the first and second year of Stargate SG-1 are remarkably loaded with real stuff, which is what they're doing here. So, have these seats ever showed up in film so that they can hide it out in the open? Well, check this out. There's your seat. Now, this one doesn't actually have any consciousness interface, but some of the other ones do. Total Recall, jump rooms to Mars, civilization on Mars, underground. And once again, you have a chair that has a strong effect on your consciousness. In Stargate SG-1, they have the chair of the ancients, and O'Neill sits in it. Minority Report. Here you have people sitting in chairs, floating in water, and they are psychic, and it is amplifying their psychic ability, which Tom Cruise is then able to manipulate on a screen. One of the things that Daniel told me is that out of all the waves that this chair cranks out from the ships, that it also includes visual images from your pineal gland. And they can space them out and look at them just like in the movie. So this may have been designed to set the precedent so that someday they could actually create a department of pre-crime. Now what also is very interesting is that the witness testimony we have of people going through these wormholes shows us that it looks like little light bulbs lined along the sides as you go inside. So that right there is not an accident.
We've already got pre-crime in Britain.
Really?
Jim Mars has been talking about it.
Oh, how about that? Jim Mars has been talking about pre-crime in Britain, he said. Okay, X-Men is another one. You remember Cerebro? Where he wheels up to this thing. This is actually the antenna at Montauk, except that it's a octahedron, 2 Egyptian pyramids base to base. But the same basic idea. There's a chair in there. You put this little helmet on. This is where you sit. And then it amplifies your psychic ability. That's what allows him to be able to find the missing mutant